Hey everybody, welcome to the St. Stephen's Church Road property out here in Mount Pleasant off of Highway 49. My name is Jacob Wintink. I work with Active Living and Parks Department and happy to have a hand in master planning this property for the long haul. This property is something newer to the county, and we're currently in the master planning process with the Active Living and Parks Department to turn this into a nature park. We wanted to bring you guys behind the scenes and show you what the property's like if you haven't been out here. So we're gonna bring in some experts that we've been working with in the planning process to talk about some of the agriculture, some of the forestry, and some of the ecology that we have out here on this property. And yeah, excited to show you guys around. Come on.
Back in 2000, the county approved a natural heritage survey for the whole county. So we were trying to find interesting spots that were natural. And St. Stephen's property has two of those areas. There's two bogs on top of the hill up there that we put in the natural heritage survey. For the agriculture here on this property, there's 138 acres of open land for crop production. Back when the county bought the property, they came and asked if we would find someone to farm this, and we put it out for bid for the agriculture production to keep it in production. We took in the bids, and our Soil and Water Board picked one, and we picked a fourth generation Cabarrus County farmer that farms this, and they raise non-GMO crops out here for their feed mill. So that's how we kind of came about this property. I'm glad we're at least putting some effort into keeping some production out here. As far as education, I think a lot of kids don't see this anymore, don't see agriculture. And this community is basically built on agriculture. I mean, this part of the county. So yeah, I think it's really important that these kids can still see that they are, there is crops grown and how they're produced, and there can be an educational component for the kids when coming out here. The limitations for this area would be that we're in the slate belt, so it's very hard to find a place that perks in the slate belt. The rock is so close to the top of the ground. There are places, but as far as for large scale, it would be very difficult. You're going to have smaller buildings that you have a well and a septic tank on to be able to have such a building. I think it's a real unique piece of property with this ridge running through here. It's kind of the start of the Uwharrie Mountains, so I'm really glad we were able to purchase it.
This property is unique in Cabarrus County because of the acreage that's available here and just the various vegetation types and habitat types. This part of Cabarrus County is often overlooked from an ecological standpoint, and just seeing the rock outcroppings, the large oak stands, some of the really neat understory, and especially the upland depression swamp areas were really impressive. And there again, just knowing that this is right here off of Highway 49 and that it's such a large tract for Cabarrus County was really what struck me as and very important ecologically. In this oak hickory stand, there are lots of and very important species. The oak trees especially, they provide really good cover for wildlife. They're very long-lived, so the den trees that are growing here, the trees that have some decay, some kind of damage to them, that allows critters to get inside of them and hide. So that's very important in this older, mature oak stand. The acorns themselves, the mass production that's available to wildlife in this stand during the fall of the year. A whole host of species are consuming these acorns to build up fat reserves going into the winter. This is a loblolly pine plantation. It's about 100 acres of the property is planted pine plantation. What we've got here is a fairly closed canopy pine stand. This area has been so shaded for so long that there's really nothing growing along the forest floor. One management opportunity in this stand is to actually come in and do a commercial thinning, remove some of the overstory pine and some of the mid-story mixed hardwoods here. In addition to that commercial harvest, you could also start a prescribed burning program. You know, we oftentimes think that the pinnacle of conservation habitat management are large trees. And for some species, that is the case. For others, they need herbaceous ground cover, herbaceous species to finish up or complete their life cycle. So timber harvest often get a bad name because it is ugly to begin with. You know, you're putting equipment into an area, you're cutting down trees, you're going to wind up damaging some residual trees that you're trying to leave. But you know, we have to think about down the road what this is going to look like. Certainly the soil disturbance from the timber harvest is going to wind up allowing some really unique plants to come up fairly quickly. It's going to wind up being able to see logging debris for a couple years. But gradually the vines, the grasses, some of the flowering plants are going to jump up, and it's going to wind up being a much greener in short order. It's just a matter of being patient and understanding that, hey, this is for the good of a lot of different species, both plants and animals. You know, burning is very similar in that, you know, a lot of folks we've been taught that fire in the woods is a bad thing. But burns that are conducted in an open canopy forest, generally the green comes back very quickly. So with a little bit of patience, we'll start seeing more plants come back fairly quickly, more of a green carpet as you get further into the burning program, and more species diversity in the long run.
My first impression of this property was that it was beautiful from an aesthetic standpoint. It was beautiful from a wildlife standpoint, beautiful from an ecology standpoint. It's intact. And there's a lot of mature forest here, which is becoming more and more rare. This upland bog is a swamp on a hill, and they are rare just because of the topography. It's a depression on the top of the hill. The soils are such, though, that it can hold water long enough for wetland plants to thrive, for certain species like these red maples you see here. They're more adapted to the higher moisture conditions in this particular area. And this area draws specific wildlife to it during their life cycle, like salamanders and amphibians and frogs that are rare to this type of environment. And a lot of these upland wetlands have been developed, and we've lost them to development. And so these are becoming very rare. The striking thing about this tract is it's large. There's almost 50% of it is interior forest, and it will be a habitat patch that will persevere through the development that's inevitable around this site, and it'll be a foundation for future ecology and sustainability for the ecology of the area into the future.